Hello, and welcome to our midweek meditation. I'm Victor Kim. I'm the lead minister here at Richmond Presbyterian Church. And we're in our series of conversations with people from our congregation. And we've been having conversations initially with members of our session, elders. And today I'm delighted to welcome David Whiteside, who is one of our elders and serving on our session. And I'm going to be in this conversation with David so that through this conversation, those of you who are watching might learn a little bit more about David and about who he is, and that we can just come to celebrate the variety of gifts that we have in the people of our congregation. So David, welcome to our conversation.
Thanks, Victor. It's good to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have this chat with you, and I'm wondering, we'll start off by saying, tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, your family. Have you been always from Richmond or from Vancouver, this area, or have you moved here from somewhere else? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in Vancouver, and then I lived in North Vancouver my entire life until I was married. So I lived in the same house for over 30 years in North Van. I have one brother, and we had our parents, so there was just a family of four, and we grew up in North Van. So yeah, and then I moved to Richmond when I got married.
Okay. Did you go to school in Vancouver?
Went to school in North Vancouver.
And did you go to university around here?
Yes, I went to UBC. I got a Bachelor of Commerce degree at UBC.
Okay. And of course, many people will know that you're married to Christine.
Yes.
How did you end up marrying her? How did you end up meeting her?
Well, it was through a friend at work that I met Christine, and we were introduced, and then we got married. That was 25 years ago that we've been married now.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I went to UBC and got a degree in commerce, but then I graduated the recession and there wasn't any work. So then I went back and did a science diploma at BCIT.
Okay.
Got a job right away at a laboratory, and I worked in a laboratory for about 12 years doing a lot of stuff using different gas chromatography equipment and that sort of thing, and microscopes for asbestos analysis. Okay. Then after that, I was working at a industrial hygiene consultant for about 5 years, where I go out to work sites, a lot of asbestos work sites, and take samples there and monitor the asbestos removal projects and that sort of thing. Then
what sort of work do you do now?
Well, about 14 years ago, I started up my own company, and I just do asbestos analysis. So I basically look through the microscope to find materials for asbestos, and there are a number of people who go into buildings to take samples. One of the things that happened around the time I started up on my own is that they started clamping down on anybody who's doing demolition of a house. So all homes that get demolished, they have to have them analyzed first. They have to do an asbestos survey before they can demolish the house. So there are a number of people who go around and take samples, and I'm one of the labs that they bring it to, and I do the analysis. So
you had good timing to start your business up.
Yeah, I did, and I saw that was coming in. So I had a number of people that just a couple of people that I talked to who were going to be doing the asbestos surveys, and I see that there was enough to, make it a profitable business. So I made the jump and went in on my own, and I've just been a one-man company ever since.
Well, that way you don't have to worry about your boss.
That's true.
Yeah. Now you met Christine, you said I think somebody introduced you to her.
Yeah, when I was working in the laboratory, somebody, one of my coworkers was a friend of a friend, and they got us together,
Mhm.
and we met.
25 happy years ago.
Yeah, 25 years ago. So I lived in Richmond for the first half of my life, and for the last 25 years I've been living. Sorry, I lived in North Van for the first half of my life, and for the last 25 years I've been living in Richmond.
Okay.
So
And
I basically just lived in two communities.
well, that's a good way to split your life, half and half.
Yeah.
You've got, of course, you've got the two boys.
Yes, we have, like I said, I grew up in a family of two boys, and now we have two boys. So yeah, I just had the one brother. So
Mhm. So all sorts of boys and males in your life, and then you get married.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah. We
Um,
have the two boys, and they're both, well, as you know, they both just graduated from university this year.
right.
And Andrew's looking to take a few more courses because he'd like to do a master's in music.
Right.
And Darren is working in the computer software engineering business. So he's doing what he was trained to do. So
That's great. That's great. We know that we've often seen Andrew in front of the camera for worship because he's been one of our singers. He's been with the band for a long, long time too, and
since he was 13.
since he was 13, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he
been-
started in the band when he was 13 and has been doing it ever since.
and we've been really, really blessed and watching him develop as a musician. Um, but your kids both were in the church, grew up in the church,
Yes, they did.
and so there's a connection there, of course, with Richmond Church. So tell me, did you come to Richmond Church through Christine? Did you come together? Did you come after? Can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up at Richmond Church?
Okay, well, I grew up in the Anglican Church.
Okay.
And that's the church my parents took us to. And I went there for a number of years. And when I was in my 20s, I decided that I would try a different Anglican church because that was very traditional,
Mhm.
a similar kind of service to the one that St. Saviour's
Okay.
does when they come into our church, into our building. So I decided wasn't really into all the thee, thys, and thous and the Elizabethan
Mhm.
language that they spoke there. So I went to a different Anglican church that had more contemporary music, and but it was a longer commute to that church. It was still in North Van, but it was a
Mhm.
longer ways away. And then I started looking around churches again, and then I ended up in the Lutheran church. I was at a Lutheran church for 5 years, and that was very similar to the Anglican church. It was very similar to the tradition I grew up with. And then, so when we got married, Christine was already a member of Richmond Presbyterian Church. And since I was moving to Richmond to be with her, it just made sense for me to make the move to the Presbyterian Church as well. And so I've been in the Presbyterian Church ever since.
Okay.
Now, since I was a teenager, like at the end of my teens, I've been in church choirs. I joined the church choir at the Anglican church, and then the second Anglican church, I was in that choir, and then the Lutheran church, I was in that choir. So, of course, the first thing I did when I got to Richmond was join the choir, because I've always enjoyed music at the church.
Yeah.
And so it's been a very important part of the church for me, is the music at the church.
And Graham would have been the music director at that time?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the music director.
He would have been
Right.
a young music director at that time.
Yeah, it's like Gordon and Laura were just young children when I came to the church.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and do you sing tenor or bass?
I sing bass.
Bass. Okay.
I have tried singing tenor from time to time in my life, but I tried it last year. I was singing tenor, but I've switched back to bass now.
Go to bass. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we see you in the choir and we see you both on the video, the online choir. And of course, when we were able to meet in person prior to the pandemic, of course, we saw you as part of our choir on a regular basis. So I know you've truly enjoyed the musical component of this, and certainly we've seen how it runs through your family as well.
Yeah, because like I said, Andrew was in the band right from the get-go. So there were a few years when I wasn't in the choir, when we had the 2 services and we were coming to the early service,
Right.
because the boys both enjoyed that contemporary service at the time. And also both of them got involved. Not only did Andrew get involved, but Darren got involved when he was just in the middle of his teens as well. He was working with the sound and the video. He was doing that like really early on in the old church building.
Yeah, and he still did that before the pandemic. Every once in a while, we'd ask him to run our audio.
Well, when we were at the
Ukrainian Hall? The Ukrainian Hall?
Yeah, Ukrainian Hall. While we were there, he basically did that every week. So every week we'd have to go, we'd have to go to the manse at 9 o'clock and collect all the equipment. And he did that every week and got it all set up at the Ukrainian Hall every week. Yeah, so
is that for like a year? Is that a year or 2 years? How long was that?
I think it was about a year. I think it was a year.
Yeah, wow. I'm
trying to remember how long we were there. I think it was about a year.
It's a lot of commitment to come every Sunday and do that. So
yeah, so he was doing that every week.
You're a more recent elder, right, David?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think as I recall, it may be now a couple of years since you've been an elder.
Okay.
2, 3
not
years?
even that.
Not even that? Yeah.
Well, it was in the spring, and it was right before, I think I went to one session meeting before you got sick.
Okay, so that would have been last year.
I don't think I did. I don't think I actually got to a session meeting in that time frame because the new members, like I became an elder the same time as Heather and Janet and Steve.
Yeah. No, that would have been so I was
about a year and a half.
Year and a half, yeah. It'll be 2 years come next spring. Yeah. Well, what do you like about being an elder?
Oh, well, I like the being more in touch with a lot of the stuff that's going on in the church. And I'm not a very social person when it comes to munch and mingle. I don't talk to a lot of people. And even, before and after the church, I don't strike up conversations very much.
Right. But
I found that I've got to get to know a lot more people at the church since I've been an elder. And I've kept in touch with those people, or tried to, during the pandemic. And got to know people I didn't know at all. And that's one of the big things about being an elder, is getting to know some of the people in my district that I didn't know at all.
If there was something that people don't know about you, something not obvious about you, what would that thing be that maybe people don't know really? Like we know you like to sing, we know you love music, we know a little bit now about your work background, but if there was something that people just didn't know about you, but that you really enjoyed, is there something that you'd want to tell us or share with us?
Well, I go for a lot of walks. I like to go out in the outdoor. I like to hike. Sometimes Darren and I will do the grouse grind or another hike. So I go out hiking quite a bit. Back several years ago in our church, there was a hiking group that was run by Jim Walton.
Okay.
And there was a whole bunch of us, and we do quite challenging hikes. We did the Lions one time. We did a few others out in the valley. Yeah. And there was a bunch of us who went and did these hikes.
So
Yeah, so that's one thing that I like to do. And now that my business, my office is in Richmond. I used to have an office in Surrey because that's where a lot of my clients were, but I moved it to Richmond. And in the summer, I like to ride my bike to work.
Okay.
I like to ride a bike to keep active.
Yeah, no, it's excellent, excellent. David, if you were to pick one person that may have had the most impact on your spiritual life, on your faith life, um, is there somebody that you could kind of point out and say, this is the person that has had the most influence for me?
Well, rather than one person, I like to pinpoint a group of people.
Mhm.
Right around the time I finished high school and was starting university,
Yeah.
a bunch of us started up this college and careers Bible study group, and we were, um, just a bunch of peers. Some of them went to another Anglican church, and it was that my brother's girlfriend at the time went to, and most of them went to that church, but there are a few other people involved. We weren't all Anglicans either. We were from a couple of different denominations, but we started up this Bible study group. And that's probably where most of my spiritual growth happened during that time, because we had a fellowship time. We did some study and we talked about our lives and our relationship with God. And I think there was a group of about a dozen of us.
Hmm.
And I think we were all there for each other. So it's more of a group thing than one individual. And I think that's the time when I had most of my spiritual growth, was during that period of time.
That's a great story, and what a wonderful thing. Do you keep in touch with some of these people to this day?
A little bit. I mean, my brother was involved, and some of the people who are involved were more friends of my brother's, and like my brother's girlfriend at the time, had siblings who were involved, and then my brother, like they got married and divorced, and now they don't. So they've lost contact with a lot of those people, but they still keep in contact with some. I mean, one of them is now an archbishop in the Anglican Church. So
wow, wow, it's not Melissa Skelton, is it?
No.
Okay.
Um,
I know. Oh no, I guess
he's in Alberta.
Okay, I don't know, but I know that.
Okay, you don't know. Okay, he's the
Yeah.
Archbishop in the Anglican Church in Alberta. So.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. We've all been affected by the pandemic in profound ways. When the for businesses like yours, maybe not so much, and as a kind of a one-man show, it may be less of an impact. But there's a lot of things we don't do or can't do, including, of course, worship and church life together. But what are you looking most forward to when the pandemic subsides?
Well, I think there's a few things, like as you said, my work has kept going. It's not as busy as it was because some of the clients can't get into where they would like to get into, but I've been able to keep my business going because it is a one-man business. So, but just getting out and getting together with people, and like we did a lot of traveling, and we haven't been able to do that. So we did a bit of traveling, but it's funny. During the summer we canceled the trip that we had planned, and we did a camping trip, and it was the first time we went camping with our two kids for years. And that was nice to do that because it's something we could do. And because Andrew was supposed to have been at Camp Douglas, he wasn't because there was no camp. And Darren thought he would have had a job by then, and he didn't because of the COVID. So we just went on a camping trip, and that was a nice thing to do.
Yeah, there have been these little gifts during the pandemic, right? I mean, nobody wants the pandemic, but there have been these little glimpses of gifts of families being able to spend more time together or doing things because we couldn't do the things we planned, but then the things that we ended up doing were not what we, were better than expected. So there have been
Yes,
different
exactly.
moments of
Yes.
grace, haven't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's been things to do. It's just different than what we planned. And, like everybody else is looking forward to getting back into the church because, like I said, I like to sing in the choir, and it's a lot easier to sing within that group of other people than just on your own through with your headphones on. It's a lot easier to sing in the group, and it'd be nice to get doing that again.
Yeah, I mean, given how we've used the technology to sing, I'm really, I'm really impressed by the choir when they are able to sing, because you all get your separate parts and you have to sing individually, and then Jannie will put all that together. But it sounds wonderful. It sounds wonderful. But
I
like you
think it
say,
is quite a bit of work for her putting that together with all the different parts.
but like you say, I think we're all looking forward to the time when we can all just be there in person and listen to it live. So, David, I want to thank you for the conversation. I appreciate you making time for us. I want to wish you and Christine and both Darren and Andrew, your family, well. And can I just end with a little prayer?
Sure.
Yeah. Loving God, I give you thanks for David, an elder of your church and someone who has been part of the family of faith for a very long time. And I give you thanks for his diversity of experiences with different denominations. But through it all, he has sought to be faithful. He has been connected to you and to your word and to your spirit. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that in his family, his kids have also been connected, and that generational transfer of faith continues. I pray that you would bless David in his work as an elder at the church, in his relationships with those in his district and with others in the congregation as David serves as an elder. And I pray that you would watch over him and Christine and the entire family during this time. Keep them healthy, keep them happy, continue to direct them and guide them in the direction and faith of their lives. And watch over all of us at Richmond Presbyterian Church as we seek again to serve you well and with joy, with gladness, and with purpose. Bless all of us. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
David, thank you for our conversation, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.